sounds a lot like our Social Security scam, where at some point you just cannot have everybody be the parasite and there be no host left.
Yeah. I don't know numbers about this. I mean, it would be interesting to figure that out, but it should be pointed out that it is also a very difficult task. You see, in the old days, you could clearly, it was more clear who was part of the state apparatus and who wasn't. Whereas nowadays, of course, there are many private institutions, semi-private institutions, that should be counted as government employees. Let's say people who work for Boeing, or firms that have more or less only the government as purchaser of their goods. Officially, they are classified as working in the private sector. De facto, of course, they are not. The other complication is that one has to determine in a way, are they net recipients or net payers? So in some sense, probably every single person receives some handouts from the state and is in this way tied to it. On the other hand, he might pay in far more in taxes than he gets out, and in other cases it might be just the other way around. So one would have to look almost at every individual to make a determination of this. But it is certainly a strategy of states to make people, at least to a small extent, dependent on the state, and then emphasize in public opinion the tremendous importance of precisely this little handout that they get. But again, it would be nice to know more precise numbers. What percentage of people is net tax can be classified as a net taxpayer, and what can be classified as a net tax recipient. That can be probably done, but I haven't done it. Okay, one more. No, okay, one here, and then this, and then this, and then that's it.
In this development of the state, I think psychologically, at least some of this is the ability of people to escape from their own responsibility. Let me give you an example. Let's say, Ron, I steal his watch, and if it were the two of us together, he would immediately take actions. Whereas if I make this into a group, and I steal Ron's watch here, and then I'll say, well, I'm part of the village, and I'll go to the village, and I say, even though I did the thing that I should be responsible for, I say, well, I'm part of the village, and then immediately we get an attack of one group of another. Right. You've wronged my sister or something like this. You get this clan mentality.
I will come to that when I talk about in my next lecture, transition from monarchy to democracy in a way that that is a subject that plays into this transition. It's easier to use anonymous groups to do evil stuff than if it is perfectly clear who does the evil stuff. Yeah.
Isn't there a certain English has a facility of expression as we go into this infusion of economic and scientific to describe things in a word that in other languages take phrases, and it's a simpler way to communicate in English, whereas in the older languages they get kind of ponderous.
I think, again, I'm not good enough of a linguist to judge these things. Let me only point out this. I have met many German philosophers who have told me, philosophy you can only do in German, because German is the most precise of all languages. I have no opinion on the matter. I'm just saying there's a certain amount of nationalism that goes on in the country.
The language used to be French.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the French have their nose out of joint, because suddenly they aren't premier. It's all in English. It's not in
Again,
French.
you will find very many French people who think that French is the only language in which you can think clearly. Even though the French have also produced the most unclear thinkers like Jacques Derrida, or so that you can imagine. But so I think each language community has its own little myths why they are more precise in some ways than others, or can express deeper feelings than others, and whatever it is.
Supposedly English had all these off-word expressions too, but being overrun or captured on several occasions, the captors threw out some of these things.
One time it will happen when the Germans take over again. We will enrich the English language tremendously. Okay, with this now, thank you.